helicopters will land during our campaigns if we're using helicopters. And behind me you see the heli hangar, which is actually where we store our equipment. But my job is to actually just tell you a little bit more about Greenpeace quickly, and then you'll be given a full tour of the rest of the ship. So Greenpeace is an environmental campaigning organization. We are completely independent, which means we don't accept any money from governments or corporations. We depend entirely on people donating money to us every month. And the reason that that is so important is because we believe we need to be free to campaign on anyone at any time, and that's what that gives us. Greenpeace Africa campaigns across the African continent. Our head office is in Johannesburg. We campaign against deforestation in Central Africa. We campaign against overfishing of our oceans in West Africa. And we're just about to launch an ecological farming campaign in East Africa. But in South Africa, we campaign specifically on energy and electricity, which is something that people are probably paying quite close attention to at the moment. So essentially what we campaign for is a shift and a just transition away from coal and nuclear and towards renewable energy and energy efficiency. So you might say, okay, but Greenpeace is always so negative, saying no to something. What is really the problem? Okay, so coal. 90% of our electricity currently comes from coal, which means that every time we turn on a light switch, we're burning coal somewhere else in this country. It's also highly water intensive to burn coal to produce electricity. Eskom currently uses 20,000 litres of water per second to keep this country's coal-fired power stations running. At the same time, it's hugely polluting, and specifically for the people living in those areas, one of the biggest impacts is on their health. So you're seeing kids as young as 6 months old developing asthma. You're seeing adult asthma, lung disease, cancer, even premature death. So Greenpeace really believes that as coal-fired power stations come to the end of their lifespan, they should be closed down and new investments should go towards renewable energy. So we're not saying switch off coal today. What we are saying is no new investments in coal. So that's coal. You might say, okay, but what about nuclear? Surely that's, maybe a better option. Well, the government certainly seems to think so. If you could stand to carry on watching the State of the Nation address, you would have seen President Zuma say, don't worry, everything's fine. We're building 6 new nuclear reactors. They're all going to come online by 2023. We're all fine. I'm here to tell you, please worry, we're not all fine. International experience has shown that the earliest that nuclear can deliver is 10 to 15 years. And nuclear projects are famous for delivering well behind schedule and well over budget. Which brings me to the budget. So the current estimates of what the nuclear investments could cost is up to 1 trillion rand. So the arms deal was 68 billion. We're now talking 1 trillion. And whatever the government tells you, you only build something if you're going to make a profit. So there is only one place that money can come from, and it is our pockets. You can expect the price of electricity to double, if not triple, if nuclear investments go ahead in this country. So that's coal and nuclear, that's what we campaign against. We do campaign for renewable energy. So South Africa actually has some of the best renewable resources in the world. We're actually ranked number 3 in the world when it comes to solar radiation. So we should be a leader when it comes to renewable energy. We're seeing countries like China, the USA, Germany, Denmark, Spain, they're all taking the lead. But South Africa has been left behind a bit. So it's only in the last few years that we've started taking renewable energy a little bit more seriously. There is a process whereby private projects are starting to come online. Our biggest wind farm is actually at Jeffreys Bay, 100 megawatts of wind, which is enough electricity for 100,000 households. The good news is that those projects are already delivering on time and on budget. The bad news is that the government is limiting the number of those projects. So there's effectively a cap on renewable energy. And so in our electricity crisis, they're looking to nuclear and to coal rather than renewable energy. So you might say, okay, what about Eskom? We own Eskom. It's our electricity. Surely they're doing something about renewable energy. Well, no, Eskom is doing many things, but nothing to do with renewable energy. So Eskom is building 2 of the biggest coal-fired power stations in the world, Medupi and Kusile. They will literally be among the 5 biggest coal-fired power stations in the world. So we're not just investing in coal, we're investing in coal big. Those 2 coal-fired power stations are delayed and behind schedule and well over budget, and haven't delivered a single kilowatt of electricity into the grid, but we're already paying for them through our electricity tariffs. So that's 10,000 megawatts of new coal, 100 megawatts of wind, and 100 megawatts of solar, and that's where Eskom's plans for renewable energy end. So that's something Greenpeace actively campaigns to change. And then finally, we believe that in the middle of this electricity crisis, the real solution is a rooftop revolution. So every single house, building, business should be able to install solar panels onto their roof. Those should be subsidized and incentivized, and we should be able to feed extra electricity into the grid and get paid for it. That should be a no-brainer. Unfortunately, in South Africa, that is not exactly legal. So it's a gray area in our legislation. There are no supporting policies of tariffs, and different municipalities deal with it differently. So this municipality is actually fairly progressive when it comes to that, but if you try and feed into the grid in Johannesburg, you're likely to be charged with meter tampering and actually fined. So that's a huge crisis, and it's something that Greenpeace is trying to change. So that is a whistle-stop tour of our campaign. The last thing that I want to tell you is that actually on Friday, Greenpeace announced that we're taking the Minister of Energy to court, and the reason for that is because we take the financial risks of nuclear very seriously, and the regulations governing who pays in the case of a nuclear accident are 10 years out of date. So they're supposed to be revised every 5 years. The Minister of Energy is actually exposing South Africans to huge financial risk, because if the nuclear supplier doesn't pay for a nuclear accident, it's South African taxpayers who would. So if you want to find out more, this is the paper to take. Last, I have some stickers for you, which Diana, my lovely assistant over there, will give you as you go to your next stop. They have a picture of this wonderful ship, the Rainbow Warrior, and at the bottom, they do also have our website where you can go to get more information. But at the bottom it says, I choose renewable energy, and the reason that that is so important is because until people say, I choose something different, and I believe that the current system is failing us, nothing will change. The only thing that ever changes the government is people power. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to have to ask you to go to your next stop, and I hope you enjoyed.